What's up, guys? Welcome into another edition of Bogey Free. I am your host, Matt Jones. You can find me on Twitter at MattJonesTFR. We are Evanless. I think he had middle school orientation or something for next week. Couldn't resist. Sorry, F. But luckily, as per usual, we have Jimmie. You could find him on Twitter at DFS. Jimmie, what's going on, man? How we doing?
What's up, man? I don't know. I'm just thinking back to like what middle school orientation might have been like. I'm doing awesome. Ready for the second leg of the FedEx Cup. It's that time of the season where like football and golf are like getting ready to like run right into each other like head on, and it's a busy time. It's a fun time. I've got some drafts lined up. I like screwed up and like cross scheduled a draft last week and ended up with an auto pick team in one of my leagues. So that's awesome. That was a scheduling issue. So it's that time of the year where everything's it's kind of hectic. So
sure is.
Matt, I know your life is a bit hectic right now, fixing to get crazier. So
yeah. Yep, we're still waiting for those of you that are watching and wondering if I'm a dad yet. I am not technically yet. Still waiting. Looks like the latest it's going to go is like the weekend. So hopefully at the very worst, I'll be a dad by Saturday morning. That's what it's looking like. So we're just going to keep rolling. Had a decent week. Had no Bryson, but still managed to make some money on the 20 lineups that I put together. So I was pretty happy about that, all things considered. How'd your week go?
Oh, last week? I don't want to talk about last week.
Yeah, wait, what'd you say? You cut out.
Oh, yeah. No, last week, I don't want to talk about last week.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to talk about my listener league lineup because I made a 21st lineup. Like I made 20 on Fantasy Labs. And then I made a 21st for our contest, which I thought would be like, reasonably safe. Like throw in, I had Sink, I had Rom, both missed the cut. And then I tried to get a little cute with Putnam, and that clearly didn't work out either. I think he was pretty much DFL, made the cut, but then finished last. Yeah, it was just a disaster along that front. But let me just shout out Scott. Scott 119 looks like. I think he's won once this year.
That's Scotty Mac, right? No, I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I thought he had I don't know. Could be. Either way, whichever Scott you are out there in listener land, congratulations on the takedown.
Scott's everywhere. Celebrate.
Yeah, he broke 500, which is a pretty good line. He had both Bryson and Finau, which did most of the heavy lifting for him. So, congrats on that. And why don't we hop right into it? Why don't you tell me a little bit about what your I guess the condensed version of the fan share video. Make sure you're checking that out if you're listening to this, because Jimmie goes in much more depth.
Wow.
I'm just it's over. We should just wrap up.
What an introduction to my course preview that was. Thank you, Matt Jones. So TPC Boston, Dell Technologies, located coincidentally in Boston. For those of you that might have been wondering. It is par 71, 70. I think it's placed just over 7,300 yards now. They added a little bit of length to it in 2017. It's a very scoreable golf course. Exactly half of the golf course averages under par, and exactly half of the golf course averages over par. You have 6 holes that are long par 4s that average a half stroke over, and then the par 3s are difficult, and you have 3 long ones that average over par. The rest of the holes, all the par 5s, all 3 of them, and the other 5 par 4s that are very short, couple drivable ones, they are all averaging under par. So guys are looking to score on half of this golf course. What I've found that correlated well to success here is long iron play. When you look at sort of the guys that have performed well here just in the last 4 years, and you can go back further, I'm it may or may not hold true. I just looked at the last 4 for sort of modern history, but it appears good long iron ball strikers correlate well to success here. My video in the top 25 of 175 to 200 plus proximity of the top 25 in that group for the last 50 rounds, 12 of them have finished like inside or 10 position within 10 positions of first place, something like that. So, it's a pretty strong signal to me that just long iron ball striking is important here, and it fits well with the key approach distances. So that's what I'll sort of be targeting. Other than that, it's a pretty. I mean, it's open off of the tee. It's fairly easy to hit fairways, bent grass greens. The only like real danger around this golf course, in my opinion, is you can get yourself out of position off of the tee and find yourself in the rough. The rough tends to be fairly long here, and the greens are a bit smaller. So guys that are spraying it around will struggle, to give themselves enough scoring opportunities to compete, down the stretch, because you will have to score to keep pace. This week, in my opinion, all the scoring is going to occur on the par 5s and the really short par 4s.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting when I've been referencing this like simulator that I've been building, and it goes by whole length, and the setup for the par 3s and par 4s, like based on how I have it sort of split, is exactly the same as it was last week. The par 5 lengths are a little bit different, but it's similar. They're going to see similar shots for tee shots on par 3s and some of these, they mixed in a couple of short par 4s and things like that. So there's definitely something to be said there. This was a little quirky that I noticed. Every week for DK Live, I do a little blurb about like what's more important, distance or accuracy off the tee. And I think this is the first time that this has happened, but it was the way that I measured it, it ended up being exactly the same amount of guys in the top 25 of driving distance and the top 25 in driving accuracy. So 59 golfers have scored at least 100 DK points at this course since 2003, and exactly 30 were in the top 25 of distance, and exactly 30 were in the top 25 of accuracy.
So it's a total driving golf course then, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at, obviously, some of those guys, could have been in the top 25 in both, but it's a pretty even spread as far as like really, if you're targeting bombers too much, it's not really a huge deal. Or if you're just targeting guys who are going to hit fairways, it's not that big of a deal. You kind of need a little bit of both. So just a little quirky thing that I saw. I've never seen it actually tied before, so that was kind of. They've been here since 2003, so we have a pretty good idea of what the course is going to play like. Winning scores have been anywhere from 14 under to 22 under in that time frame, so decent scoring, like you mentioned. So we should see some decent, some decent DK points scored, and not only that. Since there's only 100 guys in the field, we should mention it, right? They're still cutting to the top 70.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so it's gonna be super high 6 of 6s. So you're definitely gonna want to be chasing some upside where possible, I guess, would be the prevailing thought there, because a lot of your lineups are going to be 6 of 6s, and some of them might not even cash just because of the high percentages this week. So.
Yeah, welcome to playoff stretch golf, where the fields just continue to shrink and the GPP prize pools stay the same, and the number of duplicated lineups just increases exponentially week upon week.
Yeah, wait for 2 weeks from now, forget about it.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. I think that's interesting that it's going to be a total driving golf course, and that kind of bears out on just sort of what I notice as I research the course and as I click through the leaderboards. Bombers are effective here, but it's not crucial. But like, it does help to be longer than average.
Right. Yeah, I think if the baby doesn't come before I need to build lineups, and I'm actually building lineups with some coherence. Well, I mean, I guess that's a relative term, because that doesn't.
I was going to say, like, how coherent are you on a given week building lineups?
But if I'm paying attention to details, I may say I'm building 20 lineups. I may go like 5 lineups where I like stack some bombers in 5 lineups where I stack some more accurate hitters and see how that bears out. Because it seems like, I don't know, sometimes these leaderboards, regardless of what we think are going to be, like a course plays a certain way in a given week. And if you can sort of take advantage of that with this smaller field, with, you know, only 30 guys missing the cut, and grab some upside that way, it could be worth a shot, at least in a few of your lineups, if you can fit it the right way. So
sure.
why don't we hop into these 10K and up guys? We have DJ, JT, Brooks, Rory, Day, and Spieth above 10K. What are you making of all this? Because it seems to me like another week where we can sort of say that it's pretty difficult to parse out between these guys.
It is, and I think the way that I'm going to parse out is based on course history and sort of what my models tell me, and then just make a decision that way and commit to it, because I'm going to have a tight core and a small number of entries this week. I think just as the field shrinks, and I'll just build around a couple of key guys up here and then take some shots down the field and see what happens. So if I'm doing that right now, what all my models and everything I said, I've run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've run 9 optimals based on different models, different factors, and approaches, course history, recent form, etc. They all have Jason Day in them. So I'll be having some Day here. I know he lost strokes on approach last week, but he did put a top 20 together. You read the interviews, Day really likes this golf course. He says the sight lines off the tee fit him well. He does what you need to do here, if you're going to bomb it around, which is hit a really high golf ball. And he does that because there's what there are. If you're going to be a bomber and challenge this golf course, you're going to have to contend with a lot of cross bunkering in the landing area for the average hitter. So the guys that are able to hit high carries over those are going to have an advantage. Day certainly meets that with a real high ball flight. And I'm just going to take his course history, which is exceptional here. The fact that, he's had a pretty good year and starting to heat up. I'm not going to worry too much about the approach. And at 10,400, I can justify getting him in to some lineups and not having to go all the way to the bottom of the field to round it out. So that Day's very comfortable to me. He's also going to be very comfortable to most of the people building lineups this week, I would think. The other person that pops up to me has it played well here in the past is Rory. I think I say it in my course video, like when I think about long iron ball striking, like there's nobody better in the world when they're on than Rory, in my opinion.
Right.
Now he might miss the putt, that's 10 inches away from the hole, but I like Rory up here as well. And sort of for the same reason, there's a lot of upside, and you're saving $1,000 from DJ. And if it's hard to parse out the talent between these guys, I just kind of will take the savings and what my models and history tell me with Day and Rory, and maybe move on. Where are you? Are you going a different direction, or do you feel the same way?
No, I think I'm done with trying to be like, well, Day is not great on approach and he's not going to do anything, because he lost strokes on approach at the Farmers and won. He barely gained strokes at the Wells Fargo and won. Like it hasn't affected him really this year. Like at the Memorial, he was awful and still made the cut. Like his short game is just so good that he can get away with just about anything on approach and off the tee. So I'm not really that concerned about it. I like him a little bit this week. Do you think Spieth's good round ruined it for everybody, like getting him at lower ownership, or do you still think it's going to be pretty low?
No, I think that he's certainly
Saturday. I think
he's gonna get more attention for sure, and probably rightfully so. He's still very cheap compared to where we're used to seeing him, and we're certainly starting to see the consistency in the upswing. Right, we saw an upswing and an uptick before last week, and then we saw that sort of backed up with a really solid round. So I think people are going to want to be early on Spieth, because really right now we're still pretty early. I don't think he's going to get super chalky, but I think a lot of people are going to justify using that to kind of grab him at 10 and maybe not play Rory or Brooks or JT at 11 or high 10s. So I do think that it's going to, move up his ownership across the board. I don't know how much it moves the needle, but I think in your sharper contests, you'll probably see guys taking the savings and latching onto that upside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the three guys at 11K with Brooks, JT, and DJ are like far and away the leaders in the clubhouse of the simulator that I built. You always have to balance that out with wherever you think ownership is. I personally will. I mean, I think you can probably like pretty reasonably get JT and Day in the same lineup, which I think could be interesting. I gotta pull that up and see what it actually leaves you with. Those are my two favorites for sure this week. DJ like struggled and he was like 9th last week, and he had 2 triples on the card. Like it was just, it was a ridiculous, like just watching that guy. I don't understand how he ever like doesn't birdie a hole, but for whatever reason, he wasn't exactly fully on this past week. So at the highest price, still I can kind of see it. He was sort of unbalanced last week, right? Like he was good on approach, good putting, bad off the tee, bad around the green. So I think I can still stomach being underweight on him. I'm just pulling up right now. So JT and Day, it leaves you a little bit over 7,000 per spot. Maybe that's like leaving yourself a little too thin. But if you can find, a 6,500 guy that you sort of like, I think you could probably get away with it and then go like mid to low 7s and stack a couple of those guys who I think have some potential, which we'll get to shortly. But I think that's probably where I'm going to go. But I think I'll mostly be starting my lineup with one of those two guys in JT or Day. In GPPs, I'll have a little bit of Spieth, but I'm still determining how heavy I'm going to go on him. Right below Spieth, we have Tiger, who it seems, I don't know. Do you think that this is going to be like a pretty high ownership for him this week? Because I tend to think that people are going to jump all over him after a good ball striking week and a bad putting week.
I don't know. I want to jump all over Tiger, hoping that people are jumping off based on the like mediocre result.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess a lot of it comes down to lineup construction this week too. Because if you're going to grab Tiger, he's at like that weird price point where if you're up above him, you may not grab him there. So it means you're having to start your lineup with Tiger, and I don't know how many people are going to do that. So I don't know. I mean, he's never going to be low owned again, I don't think, but I don't think he's going to be like crazy chalky. I like Tiger this week. I think I don't know. I think if you make it easier for him to do the one thing that makes him erratic and he struggles with, which is driver all the time, and it's a bit easier. Fairways are a little wider here, and there's also plenty of holes where he doesn't have to hit driver if he doesn't really want to, and he can still score. I mean, he scores so well usually. So he hasn't played this event in a while either, I don't think. So I don't even know what his like long-term history at this event is. I'm sure it's good like everywhere else.
Yeah, I can pull it up if you keep talking.
But yeah, I think I'm going to have plenty of Tiger this week. I'll have some lineups I start with Tiger, and I'll have some because I built I don't know, enough to know that I can comfortably grab Day and Tiger in a lineup and feel good about the back end of it. So I really like Tiger at 97. How many people do you think go to Adam Scott after his last 2 rounds with the third and the fifth? I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to go to Adam Scott this week, and I don't know how I play Adam Scott or over Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I think maybe we have a shot at him being like not getting crazy owned just because of where he is. Like I think if he was like 8,400, he would be like just complete smash chalk. Like everybody would be all over him. I don't really have any like data to back it up, but I think the guys up right above Tiger and right below Tiger probably never get too popular.
True.
So I'm hoping that that's the case. I think that there's obviously some things to like about Scott's game right now. Like his approach has really always been there this whole time. It's just been the putter. But I mean, geez, he gained 8.5 strokes putting last week. Like that would be a hell of a thing to back up and be able to do again. I mean, granted,
did he really gain that many? I didn't even look at his strokes gained putting. That's incredible.
he lost almost 4 strokes around the green. So if he didn't do that, he could have, he probably would have been at least tied with Tony. But
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that he doesn't back that up and he doesn't keep pace with the field in a birdie fest this week on a surface that is not his favorite. Poa is by far his favorite surface. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna not have any of Adam Scott, and I'll be fine with that this week. Is my final decision.
What I don't know how I feel about Rose either. Like I think obviously people got burned by him last week. I think he was over 50. Yeah, he was over 50% in cash. In 2 days, he lost 6.2 strokes putting. Ball striking wise, he was sort of, like average, like gained 1.5 strokes on approach and 0.5 stroke off the tee. So I don't know that it's really like, I don't know if it's a practice thing because he has been bothered by the injury or what, but it seems like he doesn't have a heck of a lot of touch around the greens right now. Do you see him coming in sort of lower owned, or do you think that people are still going to be on him?
I think both. I think him and Rahm make interesting GPP plays. I don't have a ton of conviction around either one of them, but for all those reasons, I think that they represent value.
Yeah.
Elite value, really. I mean, so from a GPP perspective, I think they're just inherently interesting, especially Rahm in a birdie fest. But like Rose rated out really well in my holes by length model.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't have a problem or like tons of conviction one way or the other about them. I'll have some shares of Rahm. Don't know if I'll have any of Rose, but I wouldn't fault anybody for it at all.
Yeah, I think.
But I think they go under owned.
Yeah, I think Rahm got like Cantlade last week. Like everybody who plays with Cantlade, just because he's so goddamn slow.
I know, dude.
Is just completely fucked. Like there's no way around it. Like I saw Data Golf say something about him today.
I said that at the Open with Hatton, remember?
Yeah.
Just like it's the same thing with Na, and Na's gotten better, I think, over the years, actually. But like, dude, it's the same thing if you play with Keegan, bro. Have you looked? Could you play golf watching Keegan play golf?
No, I can't.
I mean, it's like watching a squirrel.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I think Keegan's a good dude, but like that guy fidgets more than a field mouse, man. It's crazy. But like Cantlay's the same thing. Like there's no way I could play with Cantlay. It's like hit the fucking ball.
Have you ever seen a worse round than Keegan on Sunday though?
Fortunately I didn't have to I wasn't assaulted by that. I didn't get a chance to watch any golf Sunday, so
my god.
Chances are they didn't show a single shot of him anyway. But man, that was bad. A +6 or something. I didn't even look at the final round for him because it was that bad.
Yeah, he was. I wish I still had it in front of me. Somebody tweeted it out, and just his round on Sunday, I think was like close to like -15, maybe like DK points wise, which is fucking wild. Like he was second place. He was in the final group, right?
Oh god. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He I don't know. It was really, really painful to watch, and that's coming from someone who's never rostered Keegan Bradley.
It's tragic, man.
But yeah, so I think Rahm, I'm gonna give him a pass for last week. I think it was because of Cantlay, and it's just impossible to play with that dude. Like it's really painful.
He's like a vampire. It's like a vampire. He sucks the life right out of you, man.
I know.
He also looks kind of like a vampire, I think.
Yeah, I mean, his pairings are like the Space Jam guys when they lose their powers. They're like, like they can't do anything. Like Rahm lost strokes everywhere.
Yeah.
He lost 3.5 strokes on approach. He was a little negative around the green, and he lost almost 6 strokes putting in 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he definitely just wanted to like. Could you imagine if Rom went all Hulk and like smashed that twig of a human? Can't lay.
You could do it.
I know he could. Anyway,
But yeah,
yeah, I think Rom represents an elite GPP play bounce back. Is where my like final thought rests on Rom.
Yeah, I think these. So Rom, and we'll dip into the 8K range here too. But Rom, Cantlay, Decky, and Finau are, and I mean, you could with how Bryson played last week, you could even that five like right next to each other. Like how do you decide sort of like where you want to go there? Because I personally think that Hideki is an excellent play this week. I will play a week. You know, I'm going to be at least like 70% Finau until further notice, like I've said, and off the week that he just had, like this. I think getting this range right, like I think one of these guys could win pretty easily. And I think if you wait on the right two in this range, you're going to be way ahead of the game.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that you do need to be exposed to this range right here, because I think that there's probably a better than not chance that the winner does come from the $9,000 range. That said, I don't really know who that person is. It's really hard to ignore how consistent the last couple of weeks have been for Cantlay and Matsuyama. Bryson is absolutely the kind of guy that could back up a win. And we've seen it like happen this year. So I don't know. I think I might just want to take like a healthy exposure to all of them and just move on and just not, just say, okay, I'm only playing two of the guys up top, and I'm only, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And because I do think it's very difficult to differentiate, and you could start nitpicking and like choosing reasons. But I don't think any of them would be valid. You know what I mean? I don't want to talk myself out of any shares of one for no reason at all. So I think I might just say these are the four people I'm going to have in this $9,000 to $8,000 range, and then full fade the rest of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a fairly bold strategy. I'm not really sure. What are your thoughts?
No, I think that makes sense. I could really see myself ending up going like maybe going just completely all in on JT and just rotating these guys through as like the next highest guy, and just hoping for the best and throw in a little bit of Tiger here and there. Like I wouldn't be mad at that. Like we're talking about the top 100. Well, I think we're down to 98, right? There's Fowler's out, and who else withdrew? I forget. Somebody else withdrew. It's Molinari. So we're down to 98. Even the guys, I mean, the 6,000s, you can get a little wonky, right? Like once you get down to like the Kazires and the Kelly Crafts of the world, like you don't have a ton of confidence in there.
That's absurd.
But like the 7,000 guys, like there are reasons to play these guys. Like Cam Smith was playing great last week. He's exactly $7,000. Like if you are going to tell me that I can fit him in and maybe sink on a bounce back week, or Griot's down here, Stanley's down here. Like there's guys Schauffele's down there too at 7,200. Like there's guys down there that you can certainly fit and feel pretty good about. So that might be like where I go. Like no DJ at all, nobody else over 10K. Just pick JT, or just go with Day, or split it up somehow and rotate some of these other guys that I really like. Because I think, like you mentioned before, you really do need to take a stand this week, just because there's going to be duplicate lineups. And if you sort of rotate a core and mix in some random guys down low, you're a lot less likely to end up with like really getting caught up in a duplicate lineup. So maybe that's what I'm going to end up doing. It's just so hard not to have like 100% fee now. You know, that's the only problem with this strategy.
I don't know.
He's so good.
You could do 100% fee now. I mean, he really is. Like, it seems like like last week looked like it was going to be kind of a disappointment. Then all of a sudden, like, oh no, never mind. Tony Finau just clutching it up all the way to the end.
I can't wait to watch the Ryder Cup. It's gonna be so great.
So
He's in it.
So yeah, no complaints on any of that. I guess just moving down. Where, so I mean, if you do that, like how, like Stenson's kind of coming in cold, but has exceptional course history here. But we haven't, he's been sort of, I don't know, meh. And then with the didn't play. Fleetwood, like we're talking about a birdie fest. Fleetwood has put together, as many sub 63 rounds as Justin Thomas maybe in the last 18 months. Maybe the only person close to him. Patrick Reed has exceptional course history here as well. I think he's finished inside the top 8 here the last 3 years in a row. So that said, it's real, like, you get too heavy there and you forgo a lot of opportunity here. The range continues to be loaded all the way down to Phil. I mean, some people are going to play Webb. I don't think I'm really on the Webb train this week. I don't think that's where I want to go. Maybe, I mean, he did put up, a T2 with 18 under. He definitely, scored at the Wyndham, but, I don't know, like Phil, like I think plenty of people are going to go to Phil after what he did last week. What did he shoot, a 62?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to say, where you want to take your stand, because all of these guys have a good reason for it. But I am going to probably concentrate at the top of that range, and then dropping right below 8,000 in Paul Casey. I'm going to be very overweight on Paul Casey again this week.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think I probably could have had a much better week if I sort of, I don't know, maybe got onto him a little bit, even though he didn't do that well. Just a couple of the guys I ended up playing around him were just not what I should have been doing. I hope that he's sort of coming back now. He seemed to hit a little lull there around the PGA, and
when I rostered a lot of him.
Yeah, well, it's like, how do you not roster him though?
I know he's having a very Kuchar-esque type of season, really, like just a little bit, but better, right? He has a little more upside than Kuchar does. It seems like when Kuchar's on his run, but in this case, this week for me, it's his long iron ball striking that's always sort of been the core of his game, and that's the reason I want him here, because I think that's the skill set that differentiates the guys at the very top of this leaderboard and the guys that just play well. Right. So that's sort of what I'm using to make my lineup decisions or player decisions and trim down my core this week. And that's how I've arrived at like a healthy clip of Paul Casey. And it's the same thing with Gary Woodland. I'm going to be very overweight on Gary Woodland this week because I think that people are going to jump right back off of him.
Yeah. And the brand really let me down last week, by the way.
Listen, I was also on your brand, and it was bad. But you know what? Listen,
at least Finau came through.
Here's the thing: you didn't have the nappy factor last week. You have the nappy factor this week.
This is like a definite. I am going to be in the hospital when lock happens.
So I think that this is the week, and I think that it would be sort of it's bad luck, right? You got to just roll it again, right? So you need to rerun a few of those lineups with your brand again this week, and let your brand carry you through this week. Have faith, my son. Have faith.
All right, I'm gonna try.
But yeah, Woodland definitely falls into that long iron approach game.
Yeah,
type of skill set for me. So I'm gonna go right back to Woodland at 77 as well in this range.
Are we looking for any FedEx Cup ranking narratives?
I'm sure like everyone has one, right? That's sort of the problem with them.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I bet there's some really fun ones.
Yeah, like Kuchar's on the outside looking in right now for the BMW. Hatton is 71st, so makes the cut. He's probably fine, but he's right there. And then like Sink dropped from last week, so he's a lot closer now too. Berger's pretty close at 63rd. So there's like some guys as we keep going through this range that are not only like just wanting to do well, but also like needing to do well. However much you want to weight that is up to you. I think
the Kuchar one's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
because he shows up in a bunch of the optimal lineups I've run, even though I've been sort of looking past them in my own builds that I've done by hand. I might decide that one's important enough for me to take a few extra shares for.
Yeah, the simulator, the model that I built for like course fit, I filtered this week from the John Deere on, so reasonably recent, but not like crazy, not like the last 2 weeks. And Kuchar is like 19th percentile, which I thought was weird because he really did show up well in like my fantasy national models and everything else. So I don't know exactly how I'm gonna figure that one out, but like that's pretty bad.
Wow. Yeah, he's just not been playing well at all. Like off the tee, approach.
Yeah.
When he does have good approach weeks, he plays well, but they're just so few and far between. It seems like when you look at it on Fantasy National, it's really easy to see too. Like good approach week, player 17th. Good approach week, Memorial 4.6 gained strokes on approach, 13th. Bridgestone 3.8 on approach, and he's 14th. Like when he's hitting his irons well, he's putting up your expected Kuchar performance, right? Despite losing strokes elsewhere. But it's like I don't know. Let's see if we can get some pattern math going. No pattern math is available. See, it's unfortunate.
It almost looks like, in like a strange way, it almost looks like he is like fiddling with his clubs or something. Like it just looks like something's a little off because it really is random. Like there's no trend. Like since he had a decent streak from like March to mid-April, and since then he hasn't put together more than 2 straight weeks of gaining strokes on approach, which is very uncharacteristic for him.
Yeah, he's usually Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, like he'll lose it for a week, maybe 2 weeks, but then he'll back it up with 4 or 5 straight weeks of like good, solid ball striking, tee to green everywhere. And it's just, I don't know. It just looks weird. I don't know if he's like fighting through something or what, but he definitely is not the same dude that we saw last year. He
might just need a fresh pair of Skechers, bro.
This is true. Maybe not enough support from those sketches.
Yeah, he just needs to tighten it up, Cooch. Hey, what about Snedeker last week?
All the Snedeker. I love Snedeker this week.
After the withdrawal from the tight back, huh?
It's the bounce back, baby.
Yeah.
It's like Rose. Rose came back strong that next week, and then he fell apart the following week. He's coming off all this treatment. It's go time, baby. He's 90th percentile wise in the course fit model.
Yeah, he shows up well for me too, especially because he's been hitting his irons just so well.
Yeah,
and he's a positive bent grass putter. So, I could see Snedeker for a bounce back. I think he makes a great GPP play to grab a couple of shares because people will be afraid. Woodland, I think, will probably get plenty of attention again. I bet Hatton gets more buzz than he should.
Yeah, I think I might prefer Wise.
Interesting.
I mean, I definitely prefer Woodland, but I don't really I'm not really seeing a big enough difference. Like Wise played real well last week. And I'm not really seeing, like, he didn't spike anything crazy with putting, like a little bit under 4 strokes putting across a tournament isn't something that's like wildly unsustainable. He was good everywhere else. He had a top 5. Like he's coming in with some confidence. I think I would take Wise with like considering ownership. I think I would take him. This is 15th in the FedEx Cup. That's pretty wild.
Well, he had that second. He had that second that one week, and then he backed it up with the win the next week.
Yeah. And then the
6th at the Bridgestone, I think.
Yeah, and 5th last week was in the playoffs. The points grow sort of exponentially. Right. So, but yeah, I think that makes some sense. I mean, again, it's not like I'm not going all in on either of those guys, but I would maybe in a GPP take the ownership discount and roll with Wise if there is any sort of ownership discount to be had. I don't know. What else? As we keep going, like, again, these are like, these names with these prices is what always throws me off, because I just feel like I can roster these specific guys at these prices, and then inevitably, like, somebody's going to bomb out like Sink last week and miss the cut. Regardless of price, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just somebody's going to screw me. But what are you doing with like the bottom half of the 7K? Like, we have Poulter here, we have Norin, who just like, I still can't figure out. I don't think I've gotten him right all year.
Yeah, no kidding.
Xander's there, Keegan's there. I know we joked about his Sunday, but he still had a decent tournament before that. Berger's there, Walker's there, Griot, Sink, Stanley, On, Kisner, Reevy has a couple of top 20s recently. Ryan Moore, like Cam Smith is coming up for good. Like, there's so many guys down here. What do we do?
Yeah, I don't know.
Tell me what to do.
If I knew what to do, I would have lots more money than I currently have. I think that you find whatever it is that you need to find down here for a reason to play a handful of these guys, and you simply do that and don't lose too much sleep over it, because we're at the end of the season, right? Everyone's supposed to be good. They've all proven that they belong here. Then there's a good reason for them to be here. This course is scoreable for anybody on tour. Sure, it favors bombers, but again, like, once you get below these elite level players and you're down into this tier of folks, you never really know what you're, you know what I mean? So, like, when you sort through here, I can find a bunch of reasons to play a bunch of these guys. For me, a couple that I like, and the reasons I like them, Benny On. I think Benny On is just better than his price tag. I think he represents a lot of value here. Good bent putter, or better bent putter than he is some other surfaces. Great with his long irons when he's on. That's the other thing I really like about Benny, and he's longer than most, so he can take advantage of some of those cross bunkers and things like that. But the other course that I sort of maybe find a little bit comparable, and this is just, it's extremely biased because it's just me looking at leaderboards. But it seems to me that there's a bit of a correlation between here and Memorial. Memorial is bent grass. The greens are much larger and more undulating, but bent grass, wide enough fairways to where and it favors a longer hitter. I don't know. I just seem to think that Memorial might be a decent comp, and Benny has played very well at Memorial before, so I think this course might fit him well. The other one, Kyle Stanley, it's actually same thing, has played very well at Memorial. Now that I think about it, I like Stanley just because the extremely consistent long iron play that he brings to the table this week, and he likes bent grass as his surface compared to others. So I think that there's some opportunity to grab Kyle Stanley, who's starting, I think, to play a little bit better down the stretch and should make the cut for you. And again, a little bit longer than some of the other guys in this range.
Well, now that you're saying this Memorial thing, I feel like I need more Bryson, but I guess I'll figure that out.
That's right. He wanted Memorial too. See, it's coming together, man.
Yep. All right. I've been toying around a little bit on Fantasy Labs, and with their trend tool, and I've been trying to figure out a way to sort of find like some low priced guys that have some, like a pretty solid trend. So under 7,500, well, including 7,500, so 7,500 and under, a recent adjusted round score of 68.5 or better. And on the season, less than 20% duds. So how they measure duds, you can look into it if you are really that curious. But like complete just shit shows, right? Less than 20% of their starts for the year. That filters all the way down to RCB, Cam Smith, Zach Johnson, and Kevin Na in the $7,000 range for what it's worth.
Really?
Yeah. And that trend in particular in the past has led to a like 3.5 plus minus, like positive plus minus in fantasy points, and a 58.2% consistency, which is pretty high for golf. Like even if you filter to like 9,500 and up guys, it's like 53% consistency. So it's a pretty strong trend.
This all sounds very technical. Is it going to work?
No, of course not, because I spent way too much time filtering it out the right way so that it looked like really good. But
so Zach Johnson, Kevin Na, Rafa,
and Cam Smith,
the Golden Cherub.
Yep. So take it for what it's worth. It's an interesting
how
trend.
in the world did Cam Smith make this list?
Why not?
Maybe he just hasn't had enough. I feel like he's had a bunch of duds.
On the season,
that's why
17% of his starts have been duds. So,
okay. I mean, I just obviously I'm biased. Cam Smith is a god.
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, the way that they measure duds is they take what your salary expectation is. However they formulate that, it's interesting because like the distribution for golf is sort of like bimodal. Like it has two, like there's miscuts, a ton of miscuts, and then it goes back down, and then a ton of made cuts, and then goes down to the top. And so they're basically saying like below a half a standard deviation, like past their salary input.
I feel like you're deliberately trying to confuse me and our listeners.
Okay, so that's why I said I didn't want to explain it, because it doesn't matter. It's just Fantasy Labs, they're pretty smart, and that's how they judge duds. So he's pretty close to the threshold. Like he's like 16, 17%. So it's not like he's been like wildly consistent all year. But RCB and Na have been the same. They're both 16 and 17, respectively. Zach Johnson, only one of his starts this year has resulted in a dud based on their measurement. So take it for what it's worth.
They're going in the core of a $1 entry right now. Right now.
And you can fit.
It is so there's so much math that is applied to the analysis of those four golfers that it can't fail, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sure I'm getting I'm sure I'm gonna get like angry comments about this at some point.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
Oh man. I'm shot, man. I was looking at trends. That was one of the trends that was like pretty interesting to me. So I went for it.
No, listen, you were bringing hashtag analysis to the forefront of this podcast.
I'm trying, man.
I'm gonna go with a good old fashioned biased take and say that Jason Kokrak has the game that fits on this golf course. He's played well here in the past. Just has that like long iron, high ball flight type of game. Can't putt on any surface, so that's sort of irrelevant. But he really can't. But he has been consistently gaining strokes on approach since the Greenbrier Classic, even though it's sort of tapered off a little bit. I think if you're down at the bottom of this field, he represents a lot of upside for eagles, things like that, because he can get to these par fives and two.
And he's like pretty streaky. I think it was 2 years ago. I'm trying to pull it up. Yeah, 2 years ago in the playoffs, he started off with 2 top 10s. And then he was eighth at the Dell. He played pretty well last year at the Northern Trust. I remember following him for a bit when it was on Long Island. And he had a top 25 there. So, if he can hold it together around the greens, like he's the kind of guy that can definitely score, right? And sort of overpower a course. So I'm not crazy mad about that. I wish Hadley could just be a thing again, because he pops in every goddamn model and he just lets me down every single week.
He's played well here once before in like 2014. I think he put up a 9th place, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. I mean, he's played well. Like he was on the top of one of the leaderboards I looked at.
Yeah.
And he fits that. Like, what does Justin Hadley do well when he's playing golf well? It's ball striking his long irons.
You're not supposed to talk me into this, Jimmy. I'm trying to get off of him. You're
listen, hear me out. Let me talk you into Justin Hadley.
Okay.
How
fine.
bad?
This is going to end so poorly.
No, it might not. Listen, how bad would you feel about dumping all your money into him for this amount of time, and then he puts up like a second? Or what if he wins, bro?
That You're the worst.
I don't want you to have that type of regret with so much joy on the horizon.
No, this is why we can't have nice things.
Listen, you don't need to go all in. Just you need to have one lineup with him and build around guys you feel comfortable with. Don't care about duplications. You're doing this for your emotional sanity, Matt.
I think if I play a lineup with Hadley and Kokrak, that I'm not going to be duplicated.
I would agree.
So maybe that's the move. Talk about a winning strategy.
Listen. I don't want you to have a FOMO nightmare, right? Like I can see you driving to the hospital. You know, things are going down, right? And all of a sudden, you don't have time to get Chesson Hadley in your lineup, and you check Shot Tracker, and he's 3 under through 3. How bad will you feel going into the hospital? You're not going to be in the right state of mind. So I'm just trying to help you.
And also, it's worth noting, I didn't realize this until before, but it's a Friday lock.
That's right.
They're wrapping up on Labor Day on Monday, so just keep that in mind too. So this actually might be the only week in my DFS career that I don't tinker, because I'm going to be at the hospital Thursday night no matter what's going on. So maybe it'll save me from that, like, oh, if I didn't take out this guy for that guy, I could have been in, third place in the short game or whatever. Hopefully that's how it works out, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Moving down, like I guess you can say like little things about each one of these guys. For what it's worth, Bryce Garnett and Wee Kim both popped up in in some things I was looking at. I don't have any confidence in much of that. Wee Kim, because of his 175 to 200 range. I actually don't know why Bryce Garnett popped up in an optimal and in one of my models. I don't really have any clue. He did play really well at the Wyndham, but that was all putting.
It's weird that you say that, because he is in the 80th percentile for my course fit model.
Interesting.
Which is pretty wild. Like, he's around a lot of guys who are in like the single digits to like teens. And then it's like Dahmen, who, whatever, I'm kind of over it now. I can't keep going down that road. Hoagie really popped in this model too. Like, Hoagie's 87th percentile.
When he plays really well, he hits his long irons really well. I think that's sort of an eye test thing, and just watching him a little bit for the few shots they show. But he's not a real long hitter, so he has to be super efficient with those long irons.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Same reason like Zach Johnson seems to play well here, even though like on paper the course maybe doesn't fit him because he's not a long hitter. He is hyper efficient with his long irons. Same thing like Jeff Ogilvy was a guy that popped up liking this course. Good bent grass putter. The Aussies probably have a decent chance here because all the bent grass. That's what they putt on over in Australia for the most part, I think. Mm-hmm. Peter Uihlein, decent shot, like 6,600. Totally would take a shot on Peter Uihlein down here.
He needs to do some work to get into the BMW also. So
there you go. Some FedEx narrative.
By the way, can we talk about Bronson Burgoon for a moment?
Sure, go for it. He's popped up well for me. He shows up in 3 of the 8 optimals for what that's worth.
Yeah, I mean, he just was like shot out of a cannon last week. Like he played well, came through with I think 3 missed cuts in a row, if I'm not mistaken, something around that range. Yeah, he missed the Open, the RBC, and the Wyndham after like a second place at the John Deere. So I could see him sort of turning it around. He did have a pretty spiked like putting week, but on approach he gained 5 strokes also. So I'm not too concerned about that. He just needs to find some touch around the green. But he's 73rd right now. So he definitely needs to make the cut and to leapfrog a couple of these guys. So yeah.
So Bronson popped up really well for me, and it's because of his approach last week, I'm sure. But when you say he had a spiked putting week, how good would you say in his career that putting week was?
I would imagine that it's maybe he's had, I don't know how many starts has he had, like 40?
Sure, that's probably about right.
It's probably like top 5.
It's second.
Yeah.
It's second, and the top 3 are a long way away from number 4. So I'm going to go out on, and this is the other thing. So when you look through, when you scroll through the number, like the events where Bronson has put up strokes gained approach greater than 3 strokes gained approach on the field, he's never backed it up with anything positive or above like 1.5. So he's always had a huge drop off the weeks after these like big approach pops as you just scroll through. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that Bronson doesn't back it up.
This is new Bronson though.
Yeah. So a new list still is looking for a fucking tour win. So
I mean, there's not a lot of people that win on tour. Like, give me a break. He's 6,900 this week in a birdie fest. I didn't even mention him because I didn't even think it needed to be said. First of all, how dare you, sir? That's it. I'm going all in on List.
I think List is a way better option than Burgoon because I think Burgoon will get more attention and yeah. No, there's no reason not to play List. I think it's
because he's awesome. I hope against hope that he wins this week after you just said that. That would be so great for me.
Hey, well, Luke List can win this week. I might even have some shares of him because I don't think he's a bad play. But I don't think he's winning this week either. I just wanted to let you know that like New Burgoon, I hope New Burgoon is not like New List.
That was the joke. God.
Oh man, whatever. It's too good. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't really have any strong takes on anybody else down here. Keith Mitchell at 6,500 in a birdie fest is very interesting though.
Killer Keith.
Other than that, yeah, I think I'm good. As far as predominant lineup builds to go, do you think guys are going to go stars and scrubs?
Yeah, I think it's probably only going to keep getting worse. Yeah, until the fall swing. So if you can lock in like a solid core that you're comfortable with in, playing whatever it works out to be, say like 2 guys in the low 9s and a couple $8,000 guys, you're going to have a pretty different build than a lot of people, I think, most of the time over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And if you play anybody like all the way up at the top at Eastlake, like you're gonna have a duplicate lineup. There's only 30 guys. Like,
yeah, I can't remember what it looked like last year, but I'm sure it was a shit.
It's like NASCAR, but worse.
NASCAR is actually a lot of fun.
No, I mean as far as like duplicated lineups go. Like,
yeah.
It's just chunks of a few different lineups.
Yeah, you really do have to commit to like an entirely different like state of mind when building your lineups, or a completely different approach to like conventional wisdom when it comes to those weeks.
Yeah. And thank God we're talking about this like just briefly when Evan's not here. And because he would like go off completely about NASCAR and probably loop in CFL somehow. So we miss you, Ev, but we're glad that this isn't going to go an hour and 20 like last week. We're coming right up on an hour, so it's perfect.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, he's probably still in orientation, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It might be curfew. It's 7:06 on the East Coast. So
I thought you were gonna say snack time.
Oh, poor Evan. And he's not even gonna listen to this. He's never gonna know that we said any of this.
Oh man, it feels even worse then.
Nah, it's fine.
It feels like defenseless cruelty.
Hey, you gotta listen,
All right. Well, I guess it's pick a winner and get out of here time, huh?
Yeah, are we doing salary constraints or?
Sure, you can't pit nobody over 10K.
All right. I will go. I mean, I said it before. You know what? I'm gonna go Rom.
Doubling up with Rom, going back to back.
I said that last week too. Shit, didn't I?
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
No. I changed it. I'm changing my mind. I'll just go Fee now because I always go Fee now.
This isn't one and done. First of all, what's crazy is I had the same thought. Like, I'll just go Rom again. Like, I feel like the bounce back's coming, and that's just, you know what I mean? Like, if you just flip a quarter again, like, it's got to come up heads this time.
Yeah.
No, I actually think I think my pick will be Tiger.
I like it. Hey, listen, it would be a wonderful thing if I am holding my newborn child watching Tiger win a golf tournament,
Oh
I
my
think
gosh, you could do the Simba thing with the red
just
jersey. Oh, the whole thing. It's all coming together. Your brand with Tiger Woods. You need to have let's build this lineup right now
I
virtually. I
know
don't know if these prices work, but it's Tiger Woods, it's Gary Woodland, it's Stuart Sink, it's Tony Finau, it's Chesson Hadley. Like I
that
don't
might
know.
work.
Does that work? You need to put that in. I'm sure that it's going to be duplicated by all 7 people listening, but you need to get that in there and just this is going to be so good. So good. I've been calling it for months.
So
The nappy factor.
I know I'm watching right now. So he needs to get me a red onesie in case it's a boy, and I can Simba it up on Monday.
No, you just grab anything red you can and you wrap it around that child and you anoint him and you raise him to the heavens.
Oh man, this is going to be great. What a week. What a week to be born. And I can always tell the kid, like, you were born when Tiger was officially back.
Oh gosh, it's so good. I'm so fired up. Bro.
It's 100% Tiger. It's great.
This is going to be
what could go wrong?
All of the things right here. I don't even have a hashtag for all the hashtags. All the hashtags.
Wait,
this is going to be so good.
I'm looking at this now. I can go Woods, Finau, Sink, Woodland, and have 8,350 left for the last 2 spots. That's the core. That's going in every goddamn lineup. It's perfect.
So you got your core is what now? Sink, Woodland, Finau,
and Woods. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. I love it. We can't possibly end on a higher note than that. That's it.
It's Matt Jones week.
I'm hoping. We'll see.
Let the universe conspire.
Babies ain't cheap, you know.
Make sure you put that lineup in the $5 so that when you hit, it hits for $100K.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
That retirement fund early.
That's what we're hoping. All right. Thanks for joining me as always, Jimmie. Obviously, you can follow him on Twitter at DFS Jimmie. You can follow me on Twitter at MattJonesTFR. You can make sure you check out both of our upcoming and new podcasts that we're going to be doing for NFL. Jimmie's, what is it, with Elliot, right?
Yeah, it's going to be with Elliot Christ of the Quant Edge, doing a sort of a fan share Quant Edge podcast. It's actually going to be in the premium, so you have to be a member of one of the 2 sites.
Which if you're not, just go do it because they're both amazing tools. So make sure that you're a member at both places.
Yeah, we'll be recording that. First episode's going to be recorded this Thursday, and we'll sort of dig into some general topics, and then go week to week. And you got yours over at RotoViz, right?
Yep. And I'll be doing a GPP show with Amixta and Matt LaMarca for on the daily on Thursday, barring an earlier labor. And that's going to do it for us. Thanks for listening, and we will talk soon. See you.